Understanding suffering. Why the first noble truth is key to freedom. When the Buddha set out to teach, he began with what is now known as the Four Noble Truths. These truths are not just the cornerstone of his teachings, but the lens through which we understand the world and our place in it. The first noble truth, dukkha, is often translated as suffering, but this single word cannot fully capture its meaning. The Buddha's intention was not to dwell on life's hardships, but to shine a light on the truth of existence and show a way out of it. The first noble truth states, "There is suffering." The Buddha emphasized this reality not as a pessimistic statement, but as a practical observation. Life, as we know it, includes experiences of dissatisfaction, pain, and struggle. This understanding is the foundation for anyone seeking liberation, as without seeing the problem, we cannot search for a solution. The Buddha explained the universality of suffering with examples that are as relatable today as they were 2,500 years ago. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Being united with the unloved is suffering. Being separated from the loved is suffering. Not getting what one wants is suffering. These words invite us to reflect on our lives, recognizing moments when things didn't go as planned or when impermanence disrupted our peace. But why start with suffering? Understanding dukkha is the first step in the spiritual path because it motivates us to seek freedom. Ignoring suffering doesn't make it disappear. It only delays our ability to respond. This is why the Buddha referred to this truth as noble. It is not an expression of despair, but an invitation to wake up. To truly grasp the first noble truth, we need to dive deeper into the meaning of dukkha. While often translated as suffering, the term carries layers of meaning. The Buddha used this word to describe the unsatisfactory nature of life, a quality that persists even in moments of joy and success. Why? Because such moments are fleeting, bound by time, and rooted in conditions beyond our control. The Buddha taught that there are three main types of suffering. 1. Ordinary suffering, dukkha. This is the pain we all recognize. Physical aches, emotional heartaches, loss, and grief. It is the suffering we feel when things go wrong, whether it's the sting of rejection or the sorrow of losing someone dear. 2. Suffering due to impermanence, viparinama dukkha. Even happiness can lead to suffering because everything changes. A beautiful sunset fades into darkness, a cherished moment becomes a memory, and loved ones age and pass away. The Buddha taught, whatever is impermanent is subject to change. Whatever is subject to change is subject to suffering. 3. Suffering from conditioned existence, sankhara dukkha. This is the most subtle form of suffering, arising from the very nature of our existence. It is the unease of living in a world governed by interdependent causes and conditions. It reflects the restlessness we often feel, even when life seems fine on the surface. Misunderstanding dukkha can lead to the notion that Buddhism is pessimistic. But the Buddha was not saying life is entirely miserable or devoid of beauty. Instead, he wanted us to see that even the most pleasurable experiences carry a seed of dissatisfaction, because they cannot last. By understanding this, we begin to loosen our grip on fleeting pleasures and open ourselves to a deeper peace. Suffering is not reserved for specific groups of people or certain times in history. It is universal. Whether we are rich or poor, young or old, we all face challenges that disrupt our sense of security and happiness. The Buddha observed this universal truth after years of searching for answers to life's big questions. One of the most poignant stories from the Buddha's life is his encounter with old age, sickness, and death. As a sheltered prince, he was shielded from life's harsh realities. But upon stepping outside the palace, he saw an old man struggling with frailty, a sick person enduring pain, and a corpse being carried to a funeral. These encounters shook him to the core and ignited his quest for understanding. Later he taught, "Just as a mighty mountain presses against all, so aging and death press against all living beings." We can see this truth in everyday life. Think of a child crying when a favorite toy breaks, or an adult grieving the end of a relationship. Even on seemingly perfect days, a sense of unease can arise, perhaps a vague fear of losing what we have, or a longing for something more. This is dukkha in action, a thread that runs through human experience. But recognizing this universality can also bring a sense of connection. We are not alone in our struggles. Every person, regardless of their background, faces the same core challenges. This understanding can cultivate compassion, both for ourselves and others. The Buddha said, "All beings tremble at violence, all fear death." Seeing others as like yourself, do not harm or cause harm. By reflecting on the nature of dukkha, we begin to see life more clearly. Instead of blaming ourselves or others for our pain, we understand that suffering is woven into the fabric of existence. This insight is not meant to discourage us, but to empower us. Once we see the problem clearly, we can begin the journey toward its resolution. The Buddha didn't merely identify the existence of suffering. He delved deeply into its causes. Understanding why suffering arises is the second step toward liberation. The first noble truth lays the foundation, but the second noble truth reveals the root causes of dukkha: ignorance, avijja, and craving, tanha. The Buddha taught, "It is craving that leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust. Seeking delight here and there, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for being, craving for non-being. At the heart of suffering lies ignorance, not seeing things as they truly are. This ignorance clouds our understanding of impermanence, interdependence, and the true nature of the self. When we mistakenly believe in a permanent, unchanging self or cling to external sources of happiness, we create the conditions for dissatisfaction. Craving, or tanha, is closely tied to ignorance. It is the grasping desire that pulls us toward what we think will make us happy. Craving manifests in three main forms. Craving for sensual pleasures. This includes our attachment to physical sensations, sights, sounds, tastes, and material possessions. While these may provide temporary joy, they inevitably fade, leaving us wanting more. Craving for existence. This is the desire to become, to achieve, or to solidify our identity. Whether it's striving for success or seeking validation, this craving ties us to the endless cycle of effort and dissatisfaction. Craving for non-existence. This is the aversion to pain, difficulty, or even life itself. It reflects our wish to escape unpleasant experiences, but running from discomfort only perpetuates our suffering. In addition to craving, the Buddha identified attachment, aversion, and delusion as key factors that perpetuate dukkha. These are known as the three poisons. Attachment, lobha, the tendency to cling to what we desire. whether it's relationships, possessions, or ideas. Aversion, dosa, the habit of pushing away what we dislike or fear, which creates inner resistance and turmoil. Delusion, moha, the misunderstanding of reality, particularly the nature of impermanence and interdependence. The Buddha described this cycle of ignorance and craving as the driving force behind samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. He taught, "From craving springs grief, from craving springs fear. For one who is wholly free from craving, there is no grief. Whence fear?" Recognizing the causes of suffering is essential for breaking free from this cycle. Mindfulness, sati, is one of the Buddha's most transformative teachings, a tool that helps us see dukkha clearly in the present moment. By bringing awareness to our thoughts, emotions, and sensations, we can begin to uncover the patterns of craving and ignorance that fuel our suffering. The Buddha often emphasized mindfulness as the foundation of liberation. In the Satipatthana Sutta, he taught, "This is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of nibbana," namely, the four foundations of mindfulness. Through mindfulness, we observe suffering without judgment or resistance. Instead of reacting to pain with attachment or aversion, we meet it with clarity and compassion. For example, if we feel anger, mindfulness allows us to notice the tightness in our chest or the heat rising in our body. By staying present with these sensations, we can recognize the underlying causes of our anger, perhaps unmet expectations or fear of loss, and respond skillfully rather than impulsively. Practical mindfulness techniques include 1. Breath awareness. Focusing on the breath anchors us in the present moment and calms the mind. When we notice thoughts of craving or aversion, we gently return to the breath without judgment. 2. Body scanning. Paying attention to physical sensations helps us stay grounded and become aware of how emotions manifest in the body. 3. Observing thoughts. Instead of identifying with our thoughts, we watch them come and go, like clouds passing in the sky. This creates space between our experiences and our reactions. Through consistent practice, mindfulness reveals profound insights into the nature of suffering. We see how our craving for pleasant experiences and our resistance to unpleasant ones create unnecessary tension. Over time, this awareness weakens the grip of the three poisons and helps us cultivate peace. Understanding suffering is not an end in itself. It is a gateway to freedom. The Buddha did not teach dukkha to leave us in despair, but to inspire us to transcend it. By facing suffering with wisdom and compassion, we transform it into a source of strength and insight. The Buddha explained, "Just as the ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so too, this Dhamma and discipline has one taste, the taste of liberation." Liberation begins with recognizing and understanding suffering. When we fully comprehend dukkha, we no longer see it as an enemy, but as a teacher. One of the key purposes of understanding suffering is the cultivation of compassion. When we acknowledge our own struggles, we become more empathetic toward others. This compassion motivates us to act with kindness and wisdom, breaking the cycles of harm and misunderstanding that perpetuate suffering. Understanding dukkha also prepares us for the remaining noble truths. Once we see the problem and its causes, we are ready to explore the possibility of freedom and the path leading to it. This journey requires courage and patience, but the promise is profound. The Buddha assured his followers, "There is a way out of suffering, and I have shown the way." By embracing suffering as part of the human experience, we learn to let go of unrealistic expectations and rigid attachments. This doesn't mean we resign ourselves to a life of pain. Instead, we develop the resilience to face challenges with equanimity. The more deeply we understand suffering, the closer we come to the profound peace the Buddha called nibbana. Once we understand the nature and causes of suffering, the natural question arises: how do we overcome it? The Buddha's teachings offer profound hope, assuring us that freedom from suffering is possible. This assurance lies at the heart of the third and fourth noble truths. The third noble truth reveals that liberation, what the Buddha called nibbana, is achievable, while the fourth noble truth outlines the path to reach it. Together, these truths are not abstract ideas, but practical guidance for living a life free from unnecessary suffering. The Buddha explained liberation as the cessation of craving, saying, "With the remainderless fading away and cessation of craving comes cessation of clinging. With the cessation of clinging, cessation of becoming. With the cessation of becoming, cessation of birth. With the cessation of birth, aging and death cease, as do sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair." This teaching assures us that the cycle of suffering is not endless. It can be broken. Overcoming suffering begins with a shift in perspective. We often look for happiness outside ourselves, in possessions, relationships, or achievements. But these sources of joy are fleeting, bound by impermanence. The Buddha taught that true liberation arises from within, through understanding and transforming our minds. This inner transformation requires a commitment to self-awareness, ethical living, and mental discipline. One of the key steps in this process is learning to let go. Suffering often arises because we cling tightly to what we want or resist what we dislike. This grasping creates tension and conflict, both within ourselves and with others. Letting go doesn't mean apathy or indifference. It means releasing our attachment to things that are beyond our control. As the Buddha said, "Let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of the present, and cross over to the other shore." Letting go also requires trust in the process of change. Life is inherently impermanent, and resisting this truth only deepens our suffering. Instead, we can embrace impermanence as a natural part of existence. Just as winter gives way to spring, difficulties in life can pave the way for growth and renewal. When we stop resisting change, we find greater peace and resilience. Another transformative aspect of the path is developing compassion. Recognizing the universality of suffering connects us to others and inspires us to act with kindness. Instead of seeing others as obstacles or threats, we view them as fellow travelers on the journey. The Buddha emphasized this connection, saying, "As a mother would protect her only child with her life, cultivate a boundless heart toward all beings. Let your thoughts of boundless love pervade the whole world." The journey to overcome suffering is not linear, nor is it always easy. There are moments of struggle and doubt, but the Buddha reminded us that progress comes gradually. He likened the path to crossing a river. Step by step, we move closer to the other shore. Each small effort, whether it's a moment of mindfulness or an act of generosity, brings us closer to freedom. The first noble truth teaches us to see suffering clearly, not as a punishment or an obstacle, but as a teacher. Suffering reveals the impermanent and interconnected nature of life, encouraging us to question our assumptions and attachments. When we embrace this understanding, we begin the process of transformation. The Buddha once said, "By oneself is evil done, by oneself is one defiled, by oneself is evil avoided, by oneself is one purified." Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. These words remind us that liberation is a personal journey. While teachers and communities can support us, the work must come from within. Transforming suffering into wisdom requires mindfulness, being fully present with whatever arises, whether it's joy or pain. Through mindfulness, we see the patterns of craving and aversion that fuel our dissatisfaction. We learn to respond to life's challenges with equanimity, rather than reacting out of habit or fear. Another essential ingredient in this transformation is compassion. As we come to terms with our own suffering, we develop a deeper empathy for others. Compassion motivates us to alleviate the pain of those around us, creating a ripple effect of kindness and understanding. This shift from self-centeredness to interconnectedness is one of the most profound aspects of the spiritual path. The process of transformation also involves courage. Facing suffering can be uncomfortable, but it is only by turning toward it that we can truly understand and overcome it. The Buddha encouraged his followers to approach challenges with patience and determination, saying, "Endurance is the highest austerity." This endurance is not about gritting our teeth and pushing through, but about cultivating the strength to meet life's difficulties with an open heart. In the end, the teachings of the Buddha are a call to action. They invite us to examine our lives, question our assumptions, and take steps toward greater freedom. While the path may seem daunting, every small step matters. The Buddha said, "Drop by drop, the water pot is filled." Likewise, the wise person, gathering little by little, fills themselves with good. As we conclude this exploration of the First Noble Truth, let us remember that suffering is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a journey toward wisdom, compassion, and liberation. By embracing the Buddha's teachings and integrating them into our lives, we can transform our suffering into a source of strength and insight. This transformation not only benefits us, but also creates a more peaceful and compassionate world for all beings.